So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Wendy. I'm Head of Events, Catering, Corporate Relations at the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. I'm speaking to you today on Events Reimagined. This is a subject that is incredibly close to my heart and something at the moment that I'm obviously not able to do in the flesh. At the Ashmolean Museum, we host around about 300 events per year, and that ranges from intimate dinners for 9 people, private views, right the way through to events, drinks receptions for 900 people, although not at the moment, and we even do weddings. So that's a little bit about what we do at the museum. I also just want to take this opportunity to do a huge shout out, and that shout out is, if I may, for my incredible team and my colleagues and my partners, because they have been awesome over these last few weeks, and without them, there is absolutely no way that we would have got to the stage that we've got to, and without their incredible diverse thinking and bold and innovative ways of looking at things, I think we would be certainly a few steps behind where we are right now. So a huge thanks and shout out to all of them. Fantastic. So as I say, welcome to Events Reimagined. And this is the front of our very beautiful and iconic building in central Oxford. Just to give you a little bit of a brief summary of what we're going to be talking about for the next few minutes. It's all about events, and events are all about people, people-to-people connections, communication and collaboration. That hasn't changed over the last 3 months. What has changed is the way we do it and the way we think about it. So 3 of the key themes that I'm going to be looking at with you over the next few minutes are the state of play, client motivations, and thinking outside the box. So earlier today, you will have heard from Hayley Beer-Gamage from Experience Oxford in an earlier session. She talked about the importance of Oxfordshire's valuable and thriving visitor economy. I just wanted to reiterate that because actually, statistically, 35% of the UK visitor economy is accounted for by events. It is big business, and it's really important to Oxfordshire. And I know we're all aware of that, but it is always worth mentioning just how crucial it is, both to attracting people to Oxford and Oxfordshire, but also for offering employment opportunities for the people that live in Oxford. So there's a few things around state of play. We've talked at length today through various sessions about furloughing. We too at the university have taken advantage of the government retention scheme. From an events and hospitality perspective, this has been absolutely nervous, and I think there is some nervousness around what will happen at the end of this month. So that's something that we're very, very conscious of at the moment. The other thing to note, which again is going to come as no surprise to you, is that we haven't budgeted for COVID-19 back last year when we were looking at our predictions for this year, and clearly neither had our clients. So that's something we hadn't planned on, and it's something that we've had to deal with. I would say to you at the moment, we're still in the listening and learning phase. I do appreciate that some venues have started to look at opening, particularly outdoor spaces, and we also can learn an awful lot from what's happened across the globe. So some of our counterparts across Europe have already started to open, and we can start to learn from what they have done. So that does put us in a position of strength. We're going to talk then also about client motivation, one of the key areas here, and something that again is fairly aligned with visitor attractions and venues, and so these areas probably come under the same client attitude, I suppose, if we're talking about attitudes of clients. So motivation behind clients returning to venues, I would say the overriding 2 factors are confidence and trust, and those 2 things are the things that we have to focus on the most. Confidence is quite humbling in a way to understand that actually the general public attitude at the moment is there is a great amount of confidence in us as organisations taking the lead and making sure that our venues are safe and clean, and that we're maintaining appropriate social distancing, and that we're putting all of those essential risk assessments in place for the safety of our visitors, of our staff, of our guests, colleagues and partners. And so that trust is with us, and it's absolutely essential that we don't misplace that trust is not misplaced. If I were being completely honest, I would say that actually the trust and confidence piece is one of the areas that we will find probably easiest to deal with. We need to take our time to get it right. But bearing in mind, we are very used to and comfortable with keeping people safe in our venues and keeping objects safe in our venues and keeping visitors safe in our venues. It is something that we do and is very central to the jobs of our event operations team. So I think from that perspective, once we have carefully gone through the protocols and procedures, we will have that nailed. What I would like to stress, and I'm sure this is something also that probably is appropriate to Dominic at Blenheim and many other of the venues that are joining BioConference this week, and that is that our incredible front of house teams have a huge role to play, and we definitely shouldn't underplay the training and development that they're going to need in this new era. And also the support they're going to need, because again, I think from the attitude trackers that we have been able to see, it does seem really, really clear that quite a number of the public trust us, but don't necessarily trust each other. So they're going to be looking for our front of house teams to make sure that the rest of the members of the public are observing social distancing. And then the final section is thinking outside the box, and this is the fun bit. Sometimes it's a little bit daunting too, because it might be slightly out of our comfort zone, but it's definitely where it's our time to be bold and our time to be innovative. So I just wanted to share with you this slide here. This is our heart on our sleeve moment. This is to show you that from March to September, i.e. from lockdown, through until when we foresee us being able to potentially reopen a venue, we have had just over 70 events cancelled. And of those events, the positive to take away from it is you'll see from the slide, as crude as it is, that almost 50% have rescheduled, most of them rescheduling either for later this winter or into next year. And just over 20%, 23%, the decision is awaited. Most of them do want to book with us, but they just want to know, one, when things are going to open again, and two, what social distancing measures and cleanliness measures are going to be in place. 28%, we knew that we were going to have a portion of people that wouldn't be able to move their event and would need to have a refund, and it's been absolutely no quibble refund. This is not something that anybody anticipated, and everybody's reasoning is very, very genuine, and that's why we've made the decision very early on to be utterly fair in that respect. So one of the areas that we think is going to be absolutely critical for us, it always has been and it will continue to be so, and it's the area that gives most people the best buzz, I suppose, during the client journey, and that is show rounds. Show round is a fantastic opportunity, particularly when you have such a stunning venue, to absolutely knock the socks off of a potential client when they come to have a little look around the venue. It's an opportunity to show the spaces in their absolutely best light, show how vast the spaces are, and to give people a feeling of how their event might work. That true night at the museum when there's an exclusivity, which is rather special. So we obviously can't do virtual show rounds at the moment in the way that we would want to. So what the team have done and what we're looking at doing is using MS Teams, using Skype, using Zoom, and hopping on and getting very comfortable with all of those platforms in order to be able to take wedding couples or clients through the spaces to show them what's possible. And you can now see on the screen in front of you something that we are experimenting with. So this is very much in the concept stages, but we're looking at doing virtual tours. So there'll be a 360 moving virtual tour of each of the spaces. This is our European Art Gallery, infamous for wedding ceremonies, civil ceremonies. So it's one I've chosen to share with you today. So not only can we give people a real live 360 look around the space that they're going to be using, But I've highlighted here a couple of things. So we can use it to put still images so people can really visualize other couples having got married in the spaces so they can see how it works in practice. And more importantly, the two slides that you can see at the bottom. The first one is the layout with between 70 and 100 guests for a ceremony who ordinarily, that number would ordinarily comfortably fit in Mallet Gallery. And then what we've been able to do is to design the social distancing layout. And the one you see on the right at the moment is the 2 meter social distancing layout. So it just shows that we can then help clients on their journey to visualize exactly what that's going to look like. Obviously, we appreciate that it's going to take the capacities down, but by showing it in this light, it shows that it's still going to feel like a real celebration, and also that there are possibilities then for live streaming to perhaps include guests that would ordinarily have come from overseas or those that are still shielding in a very special occasion. And then on to some really bold and exciting stuff. Go to that saying, you'll recognise, I'm sure, the first image on the left-hand side, which is all about today and the next couple of days. So Richard and the team, Lorna, I know, gets huge credits here, and I'm sure many others as well, for being able to pivot, I think is the best way of putting it, Bio Live, that we were all looking forward to attending in Oxford this year, into a virtual conference. And certainly from my experience today so far, it is going really well. I love it. I love the 20-minute slots. It's lots of fun, and it's a great opportunity to dip in and out of various speakers and experts and get some really good insights. So that's a great way of doing it. That's a new and innovative thing that we're doing. Below that is actually something I've borrowed from Verity at the business school. So they actually have something called Hive, which gives the opportunity for many people in a room to virtually connect with one another. And I'm sure that that is going to get an awful lot of use. And then the two slides on the right-hand side, very kindly produced by James Walton at that event company. The first one is a virtual reality tour, and I haven't got the video to accompany this on the screen, but if you can imagine, if you had your VR headset on, or looking at it from VR app, you would be able to walk into that gallery, walk around the tables. You could have a little think about what colour tablecloths you wanted, what the crockery would look like, what lighting scheme you wanted, all of that from the comfort of your virtual office. And then below is it laid out in reality. So you can see it's not too far from the truth. Thinking outside the box. We ordinarily in our Randolph Sculpture Gallery would have a seated dinner capacity of about 150, just over. With social distancing, we anticipate at 2 meters that's going to fall to somewhere in the region of 30 in that particular space. But all is not lost because we've got other galleries. So what I can show you on this slide here is that we've actually got 5 images of 5 galleries that we can use for dinners as well. So actually, rather than not have the event at all, one of the options that we're looking at the moment is you just spread your guests and clients through some of our other galleries and spaces. And actually, if you wanted people to feel truly connected, apart from the fact that they'll obviously be able to share in the experience, they'll be able to share the food, the same menu, they'll be able to share the same layout of the rooms, tables, crockery and cutlery. But also what we'd be able to do is live stream perhaps a guest speaker so that actually all of the guests in all of those 5 spaces would be able to enjoy that moment. And that's just one thing, one of the concepts that we're looking at and we're working through at the moment. Again, just trying to give people some options. So we come to the end of my slides. What I wanted to do with you before ending and before moving on to some of the questions is around something to follow up from the mechanics of cleanliness and social distancing. We talked about confidence and trust, and I wanted to go a little bit further than that. We have been talking and taking the time to listen to clients about what would make them comfortable or ready to book in confidence again with us. We've certainly started to see some inquiries already coming in for later this year and into next year. So I think if I were a gambling person, I would predict that by next year, with less stringent social distancing, we will be certainly able to run some of the events that we've had in the past. But actually, why not just do something even more engaging? engaging. I think this gives us a perfect opportunity to do that. But in order for people to be able to book with confidence, there's some really key things that we need to do. And here are some of the things that we're already putting in place. One of them is that we are adopting a COVID-19 clause and dropping it into our standard terms and conditions. So that will give transparency and confidence to book. And obviously it then gives people the confidence that if there were to be a second spike and we had to look at shimmying their event to another date, then we could do so in the full knowledge that there wouldn't be an additional cost for doing that for them. And the other thing that we're really conscious of at the moment, with a lot of people on furlough and things taking a little bit longer, is flexible payment terms. Again, we've noted that people are finding it, or would be finding it, a struggle to be able to meet the regular payment 30 days terms, and so we're looking with clients on a client-by-client basis at what we can do to better help them in that respect. And the other thing which we would ordinarily offer anyway, but it's going to be really important at the moment, is making sure that there is a dedicated event manager for each of the events, because we think that pre-communication and post-communication is going to be absolutely vital, not just around what we're doing to keep people safe, but and also reassured, but also just teaming up with our clients to make sure that they get the best possible experience. Because that would then help us to overcome the biggest thing, not around cleaning for us, not around safety, but it's about our desire to exceed people's expectations. So we really, really, really want to be able to say to clients, and thanks James White earlier for dropping this one in my lap, we want to say to clients, we want to ask them the question, what is your vision for the most successful event? And we will then work with clients in order to be able to achieve that for them so that they go away with the most remarkable and memorable event they possibly can. So in terms of the reason for bio, in terms of the reason why we all come together, it's about people. And more importantly than anything, one of the things that I would probably say in terms of events and the way forward is it's continuing to collaborate, and that would certainly be the absolute take home from this. Collaboration is key. Let's be bold, let's be innovative, and let's keep talking.